Alright, hey you guys, what is up? Jessica James back here to bring you some more Kingdom Hearts content. Now, I hope you all had a very happy Easter. I kind of took a little bit of a break last week because it was a Holy Week, and I figured, you know what, now is as good a time, coming off the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary, where I was just putting out video after video with very little sleep. I was like, you know what, I'm going to take this week to rest. I'm going to take this week to, to lay back and just relax for a bit. But we're back this week with some more content, some more videos, so let's go ahead and dive into this. So, during the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary and after the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary, series creator Tetsuya Nomura did come out with a couple of interviews, and I want to go over those interviews in this video, as well as a separate video, a part 2, because looking over these interviews, I realized these interviews are pretty damn long. There's a lot of information here, a lot of stuff to go over, so I think it would be best to split these interviews into two separate videos. So we have two articles here on khinsider.com, and I'm going to do a video on each article. Two separate videos, one for each article. So this is going to be part 1 of the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary interviews with Tetsuya Nomura. This first part is going to focus on an interview that was done during the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary event as it was going on, or immediately after the event had concluded. And then the second video I'm going to do is going to be focusing on a Famitsu interview with Tetsuya Nomura that was done in the days after the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary. So let's go ahead and dive into part 1 of this. And again, this is a very long interview. I'm not going to go over everything in this interview because some of this stuff is really not all that important to the future of the franchise. It's not really story or lore related content, so I don't really feel a need to go over it. But if you want to read the full interview for yourself, the link to both of these articles will be down in the description box below. So let's go ahead and dive into the first article and get this video started. So when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 4, Tetsuya Nomura starts off. He says that he can't say much about the game right now. It was only shown early to avoid leaks. Well, I'm sorry, Tetsuya Nomura, but given the NVIDIA leak that came out last year that had Kingdom Hearts 4 on the list, and so far that NVIDIA leak has been right every single time, I hate to tell you, Nomura, but yeah, you kind of missed the ball on that one, buddy. It was already leaked. It was already leaked. So Nomura goes on to say that there won't be any more news for a while. There won't be any news on Kingdom Hearts at E3 either. Of course, now we know that E3 has been canceled for this year. We're not going to have an E3 this year. Very unfortunate. I hope E3 does come back next year. They are talking about E3 potentially coming back next year in a different format. They're saying it's going to be better than ever. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to do a separate video discussing the E3 cancellation and the future of E3, and hopefully we haven't seen the last of it. I hope this is just, kind of a weird year for the conference and that it does return in 2023. But I'm going to do a separate video on that. For now, let's get back to the Kingdom Hearts news. So, of course, we know that we're not going to be getting any more Kingdom Hearts 4 information for a while, but I do think I have a pretty good idea of when we could expect to get something Kingdom Hearts 4 related. And I think it could be actually this year. I know a lot of people are thinking that it may not be this year, but I think we could actually get another event where Kingdom Hearts 4 could show up, and that's going to be at D23. Now, if you remember with the development of Kingdom Hearts 3, when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 3, Disney was really involved in promoting that game, and really they were more involved in Kingdom Hearts 3 than they had been in any Kingdom Hearts game prior, and Kingdom Hearts 3 showed up at D23 quite a bit. I don't think it was at every D23 event during the game's development, but it was at most of the D23 events during the game's development. So I would not be surprised that Disney also has Tetsuya Nomura bring something Kingdom Hearts 4 related to the D23 event later this year. Probably not going to be much. I wouldn't expect a huge trailer. I wouldn't expect a big trailer. I would think something more so a teaser. I remember the first time that Kingdom Hearts 3 was shown at D23, it was just the, just a quick segment of the Rock Titan boss fight, along with showing off the attraction flow And that was pretty much it. It was very, very small, just a teaser, and that's probably what I would expect from D23 later this year. Probably just a 30-second to 1-minute teaser. I'm not expecting too much from Kingdom Hearts 4 this year, but I think we could get something at D23. Alright, so moving on. Tetsuya Nomura says that everything we saw in the trailer was rendered real-time in Unreal Engine 4. However, development is moving to Unreal Engine 5, so this footage is being discarded. Alright, so a couple of things I do want to point out here. This is already a good sign for Kingdom Hearts 4 in terms of when we're actually going to see the game release. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. I don't think we're going to get as much of a wait for Kingdom Hearts 4 as we did for Kingdom Hearts 3. But talking about the trailer being rendered in real time is very, very important, because the first Kingdom Hearts 3 teaser that we got, where Sora was fighting the Demon Tide in Twilight Town, that first KH3 teaser was not in real time. That was a pre-rendered scene made to look like gameplay. However, according to Tetsuya Nomura, what we saw in this trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4 is in real time. So it is actual gameplay, it is actual combat. So the fact that we got that in the first trailer is very good news. Now, I know some people are concerned about the game moving from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5, because if you remember with Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 3 started out on the Luminous engine, and then they moved to Unreal Engine 4. And, that really delayed the game quite a bit. That really slowed down development quite a bit, because they lost like a year and a half, maybe 2 years worth of development on Kingdom Hearts 3. But you have to remember, you have to understand that I don't think this is as big of a deal as that was, because the Luminous engine was Square Enix's internal development engine, whereas Unreal Engine 5 was a completely separate type of development engine, and so they really weren't compatible. They really couldn't transfer assets from one engine to the other, and that really, really slowed down development. They basically had to get rid of everything they'd been working on up till that point. But here they're moving from an older version of Unreal Engine of the Unreal Engine to a newer version of the Unreal Engine. So they're not incompatible. Unreal Engine 5 is just the newer version of Unreal Engine 4. It's still Unreal Engine. So I can safely assume that a lot of the work that has been done on Kingdom Hearts 4 in the Unreal Engine 4 can be transferred over to Unreal Engine 5, where they can shine it up and, complete the work. So I don't think they're having to discard anything. I don't know how much of the trailer that we saw is going to be in the final game. A lot of those cutscenes could be changed. The context of it, the camera angles, stuff like that could be changed. But it is going to look better. But I don't think they're having to. It's not as drastic of a change as Kingdom Hearts 3 switching from Luminous to Unreal Engine. This is just moving from one version of Unreal Engine to another version of Unreal Engine, but there should still be some compatibility there. So a lot of people, I think, are making a bigger deal out of this than it really is. I don't think it's that big of a deal. As far as when Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to come out, my gut instinct would say right now probably 2024. I think we're going to get this game a lot sooner than people think. Just because I think it is. I know Nomura has said that it's in early development, but I don't think it's quite as in early development as what Kingdom Hearts 3 was when it was shown off, because they had literally just started working on Kingdom Hearts 3. I feel like Kingdom Hearts 4 has probably been in development for at least a year, if not a little bit more. So yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts 4 is definitely further in development than Kingdom Hearts 3 was when it was first shown off. So I'm thinking 2024, but maybe at the latest early 2025. But yeah, I'm thinking we're probably going to be waiting 2 to 3 years, no more than that, on Kingdom Hearts 4, which is definitely a lot better than what we got with Kingdom Hearts 3. That's just my gut instinct. Could be completely wrong, but that's just my gut instinct right now. Based on what we're seeing and based on, what I know about game development, which given is not very much, but I do know a bit about game development. So yeah, I think Kingdom Hearts 4 probably going to come out in 2024. at the latest early 2025. All right, so it goes on. Nomura's talking about, you know, how impressed he was with the forest screen or the forest scene from the trailer, thinking that it was live action footage. Of course, I'm thinking that that's a Star Wars world. I think most of us are expecting that the forest we saw in the trailer is the forest moon of Endor from Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So not really much to say there. He says that it takes place post Melody of Memory. We already knew that. Okay, so a lot of people are concerned about the visual style of the game, about how much Sora looks like a Final Fantasy character, and they're concerned that maybe, you know, Kingdom Hearts is moving away from the more cartoon aesthetic that we've had in the past. But Nomura confirms right here that the visual style is a result of being in Quadratum. So Sora is only going to look like this when he's in Quadratum. It's essentially what we see in previous Kingdom Hearts games where Sora goes to certain worlds and he changes appearances. I think the best example relating to this specifically would probably be how he appears in the Caribbean in Kingdom Hearts 3. So no, the cartoony style is not being abandoned. It's still going to be there. This new Final Fantasy aesthetic is just a result of him being in Quadratum. And in fact, Nomura goes on to confirm that Donald and Goofy were shown at the end of the trailer to assure everyone that Sora will still appear in the familiar Kingdom Hearts style. So for everyone worrying that Kingdom Hearts is abandoning its unique look, its unique aesthetic, you can put those worries to rest, all right? That's not what's happening. All right, so Nomura says that world selection is currently in progress. So yes, they are selecting the worlds right now. And in regards to that, I do want to say, I think Kingdom Hearts 4 is probably going to have the fewest number of worlds that we've seen in a mainline Kingdom Hearts game. Kingdom Hearts 3 already had fewer worlds than Kingdom Hearts 2. But, you know, a lot, especially when it came to the Disney worlds, they were larger, they were more in detail. So, you know, I think it's really more so this idea of, you know, do you want more worlds that are smaller worlds and less detail, or do you want fewer worlds, but each world is bigger and has more detail, it's more vibrant? And I think I would go for the latter. I think that's more interesting, to be honest with you. And I think we're going to see that philosophy extend even more so in Kingdom Hearts 4. I honestly think that Kingdom Hearts 4 may have as few as 8 worlds. Potentially. I could see us having 2 original worlds, one of course being Quadratum, and the other one being whatever the last world is, you know, something akin to the end of the world, or the world that never was, or Keyblade Graveyard, whatever the final dungeon is. So 2 original worlds, and then probably 6 Disney worlds. And I'm alright with that, as long as all the worlds are large and, you know, I'm kind of thinking that in this game, we're probably like each world is going to be like a miniature open world type of thing. I think that's what we're going for here. And hopefully the original worlds get more love than what the original worlds did in Kingdom Hearts 3, because, you know, we saw Radiant Garden wasn't even included in the main story. Twilight Town was greatly reduced. You know, Mysterious Tower was cut from the game entirely. So, you know, original worlds kind of got the shaft in Kingdom Hearts 3. Hopefully, though, you know, original worlds get more love in Kingdom Hearts 4. All right, so Nomura talks about the logo has changed because the Dark Seeker saga has concluded. I think I already went over that in the trailer analysis video. So now this, I misunderstood what Nomura was going for here. I talked about this particular point here in the trailer analysis video as well. But Nomura says that he was torn between Verum Rex or Kingdom Hearts 4 for the next title. In the end, he decided to prioritize Kingdom Hearts 4 because it would be difficult to develop 2 big console games at the same time, and there were many fans who were worried about Sora. So initially, when this information came out, I thought that Tetsuya Nomura was talking about, you know, he was debating what to call the next mainline Kingdom Hearts game, and that, you know, there was always one major console Kingdom Hearts game coming, but he was trying to debate whether to call it Kingdom Hearts Verum Rex or Kingdom Hearts 4. And, you know, I was like, why not just call it Kingdom Hearts 4 Verum Rex? I thought it was a debate about what title to go with for this particular game, but no. This interview has come out and now it's been clarified better. Nomura was actually debating making two separate games. It wasn't really about the title of the game, it was about making two different games, a Verum Rex game or Kingdom Hearts 4. Now that's very interesting because what this basically confirms is Nomura wants to make a Verum Rex standalone title. That's fascinating. And he was thinking about probably going for it where we would probably play as Yozora, a Yozora dedicated game. However, I'm going to make the argument that I think the way that Nomura is doing this is probably the best way to do this, to go ahead and come out with Kingdom Hearts 4 first and then do a Verum Rex game, because it's very similar to what happened with Kingdom Hearts 2 and 358 over 2 days. We got introduced to Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2, and Roxas's prologue at the beginning of the game and his whole story in Kingdom Hearts 2 made a lot of fans fall in love with Roxas. Hell, Roxas is one of my favorite characters. And so after Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, people wanted more of Roxas. People wanted Roxas to have his own game, and that demand led to Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. So I think it's actually a very smart decision to go ahead and do Kingdom Hearts 4, introduce Yozora as a full-fledged character, not just as a secret boss, but as a full-fledged character in Kingdom Hearts 4, get fans to love him, to fall in love with him, to want more of Yozora, and that way, after Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, people are wanting a Yozora game, and then Nomura's like, okay, you love Yozora, you want more Yozora, you want a Yozora game, here you go, we got a Verum Rex game for you. I think that's a very smart move to set up a Verum Rex game, so I think Nomura did make the right decision. So the next part is about, the pronunciation of Verum Rex. Apparently it's pronounced Verum Rex instead of Verum Rex, and I'm probably going to keep calling it Verum Rex because I think that that rolls off the tongue better, to be honest with you. So all right, so this part right here, Nomura talks about the same actor provided narration for both Missing Link and the KH4 sections of the trailer. Nomura wouldn't reveal the identity of the character they play, only confirming that it's not Brain. So there was a lot of speculation, last week about who this character voicing the trailers that we got at the 20th anniversary event could be. And, a lot of people were thinking it could be young Xehanort, and then a lot of people were thinking that it could be actually Cloud Strife. Not the Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, but the Cloud that exists in the Kingdom Hearts universe. But I think people have actually deciphered, there's like a secret message that was at the 20th anniversary event, a secret code, and people were able to decipher it. And apparently, the character voicing both of the trailers is actually Sigurd. Now, if you don't know who Sigurd is, Sigurd was the character that was introduced at the end of Union Cross. When Brain ends up in the Scala ad Kylum of the Missing Link era, he is greeted by a mysterious character called Sigurd. And apparently, Sigurd is the one voicing both of these trailers. So, shout out to Sigurd. I guess he's going to be a much bigger character than what we all thought. I really thought that he was just going to be a factor in Missing Link. I didn't even consider the fact that, he could be anything more than just maybe like a guide to Brain throughout Scala. But apparently, if he's voicing the first Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, he must be a bigger deal than what I originally thought for sure. So, yeah, apparently the character voicing the trailers is actually Sigurd. So, fascinating. All right, so now we move on to the Missing Links section. Nomura talks about it's really just talking about like the gameplay and stuff of the of Missing Link, and kind of the Pokemon Go comparisons, how the figurines, I called them trophies in the trailer analysis video, is going to be very similar to the medals from Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. It talks about, being able to travel to different places from your home instead of actually having to do it like, Pokemon Go. So yeah, it's mostly just gameplay stuff. I don't really find it all that interesting, but if you want to read it, again, the link will be down in the description box below. All right, so moving on to Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. That section of the interview, he's talking about the development of Dark Road, and the only thing that I can really see that is of interest to me right here is the fact that it does resolve various mysteries. So, you know, obviously a lot of mysteries around Xehanort should be solved in this game. And apparently they're going to be recreating the chess scene between young Ericus and young Xehanort in Dark Road. Really not too much there either. Again, the Kingdom Hearts 4 stuff is really the most interesting stuff in this interview. So then we move on to miscellaneous comments, and some of this is just about the preparation for the 20th anniversary event. Again, it's interesting in regards to Nomura, but it's not really all that interesting in regards to the story of the series. One thing that I did find interesting is that Nomura says he was burnt out after Kingdom Hearts 3, and giving the development hurdles of that game and how much people were anticipating it, I can understand why he was burnt out. Makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it's just talking about kind of his experience with gaming, and, you know, he talks about his past and stuff. Again, there's a lot of stuff in this interview, and I really can't go over all of it because the video would be long as hell, but one thing I do find interesting right here is that he says, Tetsuya Nomura says he's not keen on too much fantasy. Instead, he prefers something between reality and fantasy, which is a little bit out of touch with reality. So kind of this idea of blending fantasy and reality was something that we got a hint of in the original concept of Versus 13 before, you know, Nomura was basically kicked off the project and it became Final Fantasy 15. But the tagline for Final Fantasy Versus 13 was a fantasy based on reality. Now, I think that basic concept, that, you know, philosophy of writing and story making is something we're going to see, you know, really brought into Kingdom Hearts and into Kingdom Hearts 4 and, you know, an eventual Verum Rex game. I think, you know, Kingdom Hearts 4, Verum Rex, all that stuff, despite what Nomura says, is definitely the spiritual successor of Versus 13, in my opinion. And I think you know, this comment from Nomura pretty much proves that, because again, this is basically the same concept he was going for with Versus 13, a fantasy based on reality. The idea of fantasy versus reality, you know, that's something Nomura has obviously wanted to do. You know, it's an idea, it's a concept he's wanted to tell a story around for a very long time, and it looks like with Kingdom Hearts 4 and possibly an eventual Verum Rex game, he's actually going to get the chance to tell that story. Alright, so then we move on to some miscellaneous questions. Nomura talks about how he's not really good at dealing with super bosses, but he likes watching other people fight super bosses. They talk about Sephiroth here. He talks about why there wasn't a live stream and the difficulties of setting up a live stream for the 20th anniversary event. And then we get, okay, so some of this is interesting right here. So the questionnaire asks, are nobody emblems natural? Do humanoid nobodies have them? And Nomura rather humorously answers, is this something you all care about? He says that no, the humanoid nobodies don't have them. Think of them as the nobody equivalent of a pureblood Heartless. They all lack emblems. So I never really thought about it that much. You know, the idea that I guess the organization members are all walking around with these nobody emblem tattoos somewhere on their bodies never really occurred to me. But yeah, and apparently it never really occurred to Tetsuya Nomura either. But it's interesting to know, you know, humanoid nobodies do not have emblems. And this kind of reminds me of an idea I have for a video discussing the different types of nobodies and stuff that I'd like to do later on. But again, that is a topic that I think really needs its own video. So subscribe, be on the lookout for that. So then we get to a big question everybody's had on their minds since Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and that is, who exactly is Demyx? Nomura says that this question was asked a lot. I'm going to withhold the answer because if I reveal it here, there would be no point in showing it in a future game, and I'd rather save it. He's the only character in Organization 13 who is still shrouded in mystery, so I'm thinking of touching upon it someday. So, of course, after Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, a lot of people were trying to figure out who Demyx was. Is he the Master of Masters? That was the big one for a while. Personally, I like the theory that, if Yozora is supposed to be this new version of Noctis, or Nomura's original idea of the character of Noctis, a spiritual successor to Noctis, I like the idea that Demyx may in fact be kind of the new Prompto. He's one of Yozora's buddies, he's one of Yozora's friends, and he's basically Nomura's version of Prompto. I really like that idea. Is that what it's going to turn out to be? Who knows? But that's the idea that I'm kind of going with, because we know at this point that, Luxord is Yozora's driver. So I think Demyx also having a connection to Yozora, I think makes a lot of sense. And I like the idea of Demyx basically being the Kingdom Hearts version of Prompto. That I think is really freaking cool. So I hope that's the idea they go with. I think that would be great. So it talks about Hikaru Utada's songs and how they don't start working on the opening movie until after they receive her songs. Clearly she has a very close working relationship with the company at this point. I think they did have some drama in the past, but it seems like they've really mended it. And then they talk about, the player from Union Cross reincarnating into Xehanort, and of course Nomura says, no, not gonna give the answer, gotta play Dark Road. There's a lot of questions in both of these interviews where Nomura says, I'm not gonna answer, you have to play the game. A lot of questions, that's like his go-to answer for some of these. Again, and this next one talks about how Riku got Kairi's Keyblade. Where did that Keyblade come from that Riku gave to Kairi in Kingdom Hearts 2? And again, Nomura says that, he can't really answer it right now, but he does plan on answering it in a future game. And that is a mystery that we've really had since Kingdom Hearts 2. We don't know where Riku got this Keyblade from, the one that he gave to Kairi. We have no idea where it came from, but apparently Nomura does have an answer to that question, and he's going to show it at some point. So that is still a mystery. Even going back to 2005 when Kingdom Hearts 2 first came out in Japan, and here we are in 2022 and we still don't have an answer to that. It's some of this stuff, it's wild to think about how many questions and mysteries go back even to the early days of Kingdom Hearts. Alright, so this next one I thought was actually pretty interesting, this next question. The questionnaire asks, the story diverges based on who wins or loses the battle against Yozora, which I believe is a first for the Kingdom Hearts series. What is the significance of this? And of course, a lot of us were trying to figure out, alright, so there's two different endings in Kingdom Hearts 3, depending on if you beat Yozora or if you lose to Yozora. And everybody's been trying to figure out which one's the canon ending. Could they both be canon? There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of theories on this, but Nomura says there is no significance. So, we're kind of... I feel like a lot of times, the Kingdom Hearts fan base, and I'm guilty of this as well, no doubt. But a lot of times, there's certain aspects of the series that we look into a little bit too deeply that really aren't that significant. And apparently this is one of them. I can't tell you how many theories I've seen about this two ending thing. But Nomura says there is no significance. In fact, Nomura says that Yozora is a very powerful foe and therefore difficult to beat. So I thought it would be better if players could see something even if they lost a battle. It'd be upsetting for those who couldn't defeat him no matter how hard they tried and received nothing for their efforts. So the way that Nomura describes this, interestingly enough, is that it seems, again, this is not confirmed, but I think Nomura may be hinting here that potentially the canon ending is the one where we do beat Yozora, where Sora is victorious, and that could be the canon ending. That seems to be what Nomura is implying. I could be wrong about that, but that's the implication I get, which is actually the inverse of what I thought was going to be true. Because I thought if any of the endings were going to be canon, I thought it would actually be the one where Yozora wins and Sora loses and gets crystallized. I thought that would be the canon ending, and I think most people, if they had to pick, would say that the ending where you lose was the canon ending. But Nomura seems to be implying the opposite here, that in fact the one where Sora wins may be the canon ending. But again, we won't know for sure probably until Kingdom Hearts 4 actually comes out. So they're talking about, whether Ephemer realized, the player's true intentions in the Union Cross ending, where he was pretending to be possessed by darkness. And Nomura just says, basically, I can't really answer it right now. A lot of this is going to be resolved in Missing Link. So be sure to check it out. Be sure to play Missing Link. So then they ask, this is something I can't believe people, I guess this one guy could never figure this out, but I think most people understood this. But he asked about, when did Naminé and Ansem the Wise meet? And Nomura says, well, they met in Castle Oblivion after, the organization members there had been defeated. And, they basically, they say that he thought people would be able to figure out why they decided to team up. And it is pretty obvious once you get to Kingdom Hearts 2. I mean, Naminé was working to restore Sora's memories. Ansem wanted to wake Sora up so that he could use Sora to defeat Organization 13. So Naminé and Ansem the Wise both had a common goal of waking Sora up. So of course they would be working together to do that. I mean, was that really a mystery? Was that something that needed to be asked? I thought that was pretty obvious. They have a common goal. They want to wake Sora up. And then later on, when Riku joins them, he joins them for the same reason. He wants to wake Sora up. It's not really that complicated. So then they talk about, why did Riku's hair get cut in Kingdom Hearts 3 Drop Distance? And Nomura says, well, people were complaining about his hair being too long, so he cut it off. That's it. That was really why Riku got a haircut between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Dream Drop Distance. So, all right. So this next one I thought was, this kind of blew my mind when I first read this. This next question is, while we're on the topic, is there anything else you've changed in response to fan feedback? And Nomura says, Roxas and Shion's return. I was struggling with the issue until the very last minute and even considered a scenario where they wouldn't be revived at all. However, everyone's feelings were so strong that I felt I had no choice to bring them back. That absolutely blows my mind, because if you look at all the stuff leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3, between Kingdom Hearts, the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, everything was talking about how, Sora has to go out and find a way to save Terra, Aqua, Ventus, Roxas, Shion, and Naminé. And everything was pointing in the direction, that Sora's going to save all these people. But apparently Nomura considered not saving Roxas and Shion? Like, what? I mean, that's kind of wild to me, to be honest with you. Because everything before Kingdom Hearts 3, between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 3, was suggesting that these characters are coming back. But apparently Nomura hadn't decided on that for sure until the last minute of Kingdom Hearts 3's. That blows my mind. Like, can you imagine that? Like, Roxas and Shion not coming back? That would have been wild, bro. It never occurred to me that they wouldn't come back in Kingdom Hearts 3. But in the end, I'm glad Nomura decided to bring him back, especially Roxas, because Roxas is one of my favorite characters. In addition to this, Nomura also says that there are parts of the story that he will not budge on. But when he's having trouble with the story, he will consider what everyone else is saying. So I do really respect this. This is something that I respect about Tetsuya Nomura. It's something that I respect about George Lucas, and that is, they have an idea of the story they want to tell. And there's certain things they won't change. They won't budge on. Even if people dislike it, even if people hate it, they will not budge on it. They have an idea where the story is going. They have an idea of the story they want to tell, and they will tell it. Storytelling is not a democracy, all right? It's not. Too many hands in the kitchen makes a really bad meal. So I respect Tetsuya Nomura for being this way, for wanting to tell the story that he wants to tell, for it to be his vision and not the vision, popularly voted on by the fans. Because again, I don't think storytelling should be a democracy. It should be the vision of the creator, of the author, of the writer. That's what it should be. So here we talk about, the Master of Masters, how in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, he was talking about disappearing to a world of blank. We have some kind of mysterious symbol and, asking about, what that hidden character means, what it's referring to. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. The Master is referring to Unreality or Quadratum, because that's where he ends up ultimately. Then there's a question here about Aiza and how he received the scar on his face. Saïx has a X-shaped scar, and it's in the form of the recusant sigil, which of course is Xehanort's mark. It's the X, and Nomura again says that there is a story to tell here. He's going to tell this story at some point in the future, and it is related to Subject X, which kind of makes sense because the scar on his face is in the shape of an X. He says there's a story with Lee and Aiza and the girl they were trying to rescue, aka Scald. But yeah. So there is some mystery surrounding Lee and Aiza's backstory, specifically when it comes to Subject X, and that's probably where we're going to find out about how he got the scar. So look forward to seeing that in the future. Maybe we'll find out in Kingdom Hearts 4 if Subject X, Scald, makes a return. There's a question about the noise in the sky at the end of Union Cross when the world was being destroyed. Again, looking too deeply into this, Nomura says there is no meaning, it's just an effect. And then it talks about, why didn't Xehanort, try and carry out his plan when he was younger instead of waiting when he was older and had to hijack Terra's body. And, he said that basically Tetsuya Nomura, Xehanort in his youth just wasn't strong enough. He didn't have the power to carry out his plan. Which, I think makes sense. Obviously at the end of his life, Xehanort has a lot more experience, a lot more training, a lot more understanding about the worlds and Kingdom Hearts and Darkness and the Keyblade, etc., etc. So, it would make sense that, he would need a lifetime of experience before he actually acted on this plan. So this is something that I think, and I've actually seen some people confused about this, kind of not really the hardcore fans, but more so the casual fans really confused about this next point. And that is, what is the difference between falling to darkness as what happened to Riku and Aqua? Of course, Riku getting his dark mode in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Aqua becoming anti-Aqua and becoming a heartless and creating a nobody. Nomura says that falling to darkness and losing your heart are two different phenomenon. When the heart falls to darkness, it still remains with you, but when it becomes a heartless, the heart departs the body. So to basically sum this up, when a person falls to darkness, essentially they are corrupted by darkness. They're still a person, they're still a whole being, they still have their body, heart, and soul. None of that is separated. It's just their entire being has been corrupted by darkness. That's what happened with Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1, and that's what happened with Aqua in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like the body, the heart, and the soul are all corrupted by darkness. That's what that means. But when you become a heartless, what that means is that your heart has been fully consumed by the darkness. It's consumed. It's not corrupted. It's consumed your heart. And that consuming of the heart causes it to separate from the body. The heart consumed by darkness becomes a heartless, and the body and soul left behind has the potential to become a nobody. Very simple. Very simple. Again, a lot of the stuff in Kingdom Hearts, when it comes to becoming a heartless, becoming a nobody, what does death mean in the series, a lot of this is actually very easy to understand if you take the time to pay attention. And of course, please, for the love of God, read the Ansem reports, read the secret Ansem reports, read the secret reports, read the Xehanort reports, read the damn reports. It's all there in the game. Alright, so it talks about Maleficent and her relation to the Black Box, and, you know, of course, this is something that's going to be revealed later on. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Maleficent and Pete again in Kingdom Hearts 4, and I'm hoping we find out what is finally in the Black Box in Kingdom Hearts 4. And then it talks about the last question, which is kind of a weird question to end off the interview. But it talks about Xemnas breaking Lee's Keyblade, and it's not really that important. So the next session is a interview with the different voice actors from the series. There's not really anything too important right here. It's just talking kind of, you know, about their experiences with the series. What do they think about the character they voice? And then we get down to the closing remarks, and this is from Shinji Hashimoto. And Shinji Hashimoto says, "I think back to all the times myself, director Nomura, and others would travel to the US to give presentations, have meetings, sign contracts, and climb stairs, and before I knew it, it'd been 20 years. I'm truly happy that we were able to pass the baton to the next generation, and that Kingdom Hearts has become a work loved by people all around the world. I believe the world of Kingdom Hearts will continue to expand with Kingdom Hearts 4 at the forefront. So I'd like to ask for your continued support in the future. Thank you all very much." And that is the end of this interview, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of this article. Again, if you want to read the full interview, the full article will be down in the description box below. So, that being said, there is going to be a part 2 to this video where we talk about the Famitsu magazine interview with Tetsuya Nomura that came out after the 20th anniversary event. That is going to be in part 2 of this video, and that's going to be coming out later on. So if you want to see that video, make sure you subscribe, click the like button, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you guys in that next video.